Welcome to Innovate 2022, presented by Cireson. Thanks for joining our keynote today. My name is Justin Roux. I'm Chief Operating Officer here at Cireson. I'm going to be joined by multiple team members here in this jam-packed keynote, including James Kleinschnitz, our CTO, and Adam Dezaki, our Product Manager, both of whom will share exciting new updates and announcements around our product. Joel Doss, our Director of Sales, is going to join later. He's going to be speaking with Bill Devlin over at Luby's Restaurants, a Cireson customer, who's kind of going through a transition right now that we find very interesting and we think could be very relevant to our customers as it relates to technology and ITSM decisions. And then I'm going to wrap up the keynote later on by talking to Shashank Bansal, the Principal PM Lead over at Microsoft for System Center. So a little housekeeping, all of our sessions are recorded, so there is no live Q&A during the sessions. There will be live Q&A in lounges following each breakout session, so you can go there to ask questions of your presenter. And then also we will have an open floor lounge going all day in parallel with our session, so you can stop in, say hi, ask any questions of the team. The theme for this year is Microsoft Service Management for the Hybrid World. We're going to take a moment to refresh everyone on the concept of Microsoft Service Management, and then we'll dig into what we mean by hybrid and kind of the different connotations or the different angles that you can come at hybrid from. So on Microsoft Service Management, Cireson believes that service management practices and processes deployed using Microsoft technology are really kind of the foundational definition of Microsoft Service Management. And the power within that, where you really get the most value out of this concept, is in that seamless access to users, devices, and data across what we believe is the most trusted, secure, and modern technology platforms available for enterprises. So of course, you look at the diagram on the left, System Center and Service Manager, the only true ITSM platform that Microsoft has ever built, plus Cireson Service Manager portal extending into the web Service Manager, extending Service Manager's roadmap as well and helping Microsoft on that front. And then integrating all of that with Azure, not just from an infrastructure perspective, so not just moving on-prem workloads into Azure, but like using the Azure tools that exist out there to help extend the functionality of your on-prem ITSM platform of Service Manager. So better automations, more integration capability, better reporting, all kinds of things that you can get out of that. So we talked about that last year. This year, we're going to talk more about hybrid as it relates to something beyond technology, right? So there's a technology component here, but really what I'm talking about is the hybrid workforce, which, since 2020 has become the norm, right? And it's not going away anytime soon. Looking at this Microsoft's 2022 Work Trend Index, I pulled out some interesting data points. No surprise, the majority of these are about teams and collaboration, but I think the most interesting thing is talking about the transformation of work that's continuing. So since February 2020, a 252% increase in weekly meeting times on average. The number of weekly meetings has increased 153%. Workday span for the average Teams user has increased more than 13%, roughly 46 minutes. And after hours and weekend work has grown even more quickly at 28 and 14% respectively. But this is talking about the boundaries blurring between when we start work and when we end work because of remote work and meetings and Teams. It's also talking about the increase of meetings. But another interesting piece is the increase in chats. So the average Teams user sent 32% more chats each week in February 22 compared to March 2020, and that figure continues to climb. So what does all of this tell us? Is that as work is changing, support needs to change to continue to be able to facilitate IT service management. And in the Microsoft ecosystem, all of work is really centralizing around Teams, right? We're seeing that in our own day-to-day and in Microsoft's global research. So I wanted to transition a bit. This is a visual representation of that data and talk about how Cireson is supporting this transformation of work. So 2 years ago, during the summer of 2020, we launched our MS Teams integration, our first iteration of that, bringing SCSM into Teams and allowing individuals who are working in Teams daily to be able to work more agile and work in this Teams platform. And then last year, around the same time at this event, we announced our cloud connector. So we started hearing from customers that hybrid scenarios and being able to support them went beyond just Teams and went beyond just infrastructure. We needed to talk more about leveraging cloud tools and data to be able to be more agile, to be able to deliver better support. So we launched our cloud connector. So as it relates to this transformation of work and what Cireson's role plays, these are some features that we've released over the last 2 years. pillar features, right? And we had plenty more features come out as well, but these were big ones. But it's not just about product features either. It's about having a partner in this transformation. So Cireson has launched our Cireson Plus program, launched that a couple of years ago, extending the support beyond just our portal and extending it to SESM, Orchestrator, and your customizations in our portal. So kind of giving you that assurance, that extended safety net beyond standard support. And then our Cireson Managed Services, where we give you the ability to outsource our expertise, right? Bring us in as a part of your team. We've heard a lot of customers that have either lost SESM expertise to turnover, or maybe lost SESM expertise to moving it into, moving these resources into higher priority projects across the business. So now you have resources at your disposal to kind of, again, give you additional safety net, give you additional resources, bring us into the team using these programs. So if you're not involved in one of these programs, feel free to reach out to us at team@cireson.com for more information. We'd love to see you join. We'd love to better support how you're delivering Microsoft Service Management today. All right, so to continue this conversation, let's take a look at the future and roadmap. We're going to talk a little bit about things that have come out recently, like our Cireson Archiver, and we're going to look at some of the innovation that our team has been working on by talking to Adam Dzaki, our product manager. Adam?
Thanks, Justin. So what I want to go over today is the SMP roadmap, and I also want to touch on Cireson Analytics Archiver that we released earlier this year. For those of you that are not in the know, I'm curious, what is Archiver? What does it do? What are the problems that it solves? What do I get out of this? That's where I want to start. And in fact, what I want to start with is this error message. The error message I think that many attendees on this call are probably familiar with. And this error message arrives, it appears, it manifests itself for one of two reasons. And just like it says, it's either you don't have access to it, in which case that's true, you don't have access to it, you don't have the right permissions to view it. Maybe it's in a queue outside of your role, for example, right? You don't want to see HR tickets, you want to see IT tickets. Makes sense that those paths don't cross. But the other scenario that could arise is that the item has been groomed out of Service Manager. It has hit your configured data retention settings, and now it gets deleted out of Service Manager, never to be seen again. In fact, the only way to see that work item and to find that work item, to rebuild that work item, you end up having to turn to reporting. And what I wanted to lay out here is kind of the flow, the architecture at a high level that I think maybe many of us are familiar with, but if not, it's okay. And that's that, your analysts, right, your management, people are going to be interacting with the portal. That portal is, reading and writing to and from Service Manager. But then once an item gets closed, once it's been closed for some period of time, Service Manager on the top is going to groom that out. It's just going to delete it. There's no reason to keep the closed work item around, because this just kind of leads to bloat within the Service Manager database, right? And the more bloat that we have, just like Operations Manager, the slower the performance that we're going to run into as far as like the entire environment is concerned. Now this is addressed, this is aided by either using Cireson Analytics or the out-of-box Microsoft Service Manager data warehouse. Because what happens with these two solutions, these archiving, these analytics, these long-term historical reporting solutions, is that on a regular schedule, data is extracted from Service Manager. And it's done so that you have one database to query against, to build reports against. And again, to build those like long-term historical trending reports off of. But you're gonna have to turn to SQL. You're gonna have to turn to Power BI. You're gonna have to turn to some kind of reporting tool if you wanna get the data out and you want to present it. And one of those needs that arises is that if a work item gets groomed out, you may have to tap someone on the shoulder to say, can you go get it from the data warehouse for me? Can you go get it from analytics for me? And this is less than ideal, because really you should just be using those databases to build dashboards, to build reports off of. It's unfortunate that the only thing you can't do is kind of retrieve the work item out of there. And in fact, I actually wanted to set up just a kind of a quick comparison between analytics and the Service Manager data warehouse so that you could see there's some overlap, but there's some things that one can do that the other cannot, right? And I guess I want to start with the Service Manager data warehouse in that if you're using the Service Manager data warehouse or using analytics as well, that comes with some administrative overhead. You have to manage the servers, you have to patch them, you have to deploy SSRS. It's going to result into some rather complex queries to get the data that you want out of the data warehouse. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that is the state of, how this works. But with analytics, we wanted to start, allowing you some of the same and familiar data warehouse functionality so that you could still have extensible data models. You could still extend it to do what you want. We wanted to offer detailed reporting, but we also, in a couple releases ago, what we did is we said we want to make it possible so that you could undo a class extension. We don't want you to pay the penalty for that. We want you to be able to undo it and still preserve the data. We also introduced the ability to query the action log in analytics, so you can see all the comments that are being left on incidents and problems, etc. But the couple of things that can't be done in either solution right now, you can't get old file attachments. You can't view the entire history of a work item, otherwise known as the entity change log, or ECL for short. And last but not least, of course, like I said, you can't just view a read-only instance of this item in the portal, right? I mean, it'd be great, it'd be super easy, but you can't do it. And that's why with Cireson Analytics, and specifically the addition of the archiver, what we're doing is giving you the ability to download those file attachments, even if the work item has been groomed out, to view the entire history, even if the work item has been groomed out. And most importantly, view that work item in the portal, even if that work item has been groomed out. And it looks a little something like this. Now when I go back to that incident, when I go back to this IR that previously I had an error message on, now with Analytics Archiver, this loads into the portal. I'm able to view this item in the portal in a read-only state. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. It doesn't exist in Service Manager. This is exclusive to Analytics. And in doing so, not only do we bring back all the details and all the properties about this incident, but we also get all of its file attachments. We get all of its relationships. We get its entire action log history and the detailed ECL, the detailed history of the entire incident, of all the changes that have occurred across it. And in doing so, what I believe we've granted here is the ability for really anyone at any angle, regardless of their level, to go to a work item in the portal and immediately view it, right? So this is great whether you have auditing needs, if you have management that wants to check in on an old incident, but of course also fellow analysts, people that are just kind of, don't want to see that error message anymore, that they know what they're looking for and they just wish they could go look at the action log or re-download a file attachment. You can do that now with Analytics Archiver. So again, just to wrap this up, you can lower your data retention settings. You can significantly improve Service Manager performance in doing so. All work item RBAC and permissions, aka your queues, all of that is preserved now into perpetuity. And not to mention, all of this is available in the portal. So this is what comes with Analytics Archiver. So next, let's talk about the SMP roadmap. We're going to be working on quick actions and the work item grids and also delay activity. But also the other thing that's worth pointing out is we're also going to be doing work with cloud activity. We've been talking about this for the last couple quarters. There's actually going to be a demo later today where you can see cloud activity in action and some of the progress that we're making. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I really want to focus on what those two items in purple are. And I think that's what probably is on everyone's mind that's looking at this slide. So up first, our first Innovate announcement for what's coming to Service Manager, what is making its way onto the roadmap. Well, it's something that we want to make sure that everyone at every level of your organization has the opportunity to not just integrate with Service Manager, but the ability to automate Service Manager, the opportunity to automate, integrate, transform Service Manager, regardless of the technology that they're coming from. And do it in a way that does not demand PowerShell, that does not demand scripting or coding expertise. And that's why today we're announcing that we are going to be introducing an official Power Automate connector for SMP that will allow you from Microsoft Power Automate the ability to create work, update work, and again, do it all from Microsoft Power Automate. As far as the next item is concerned, I'm going to turn things back to Justin. Justin?
All right, thanks, Adam. Really appreciate that review of the roadmap. And now on for the big product reveal that we've been planning for today. Really excited to share this with everybody out there. So I'm going to touch back on this concept here. So, since March of 2020, we have seen the adoption and utilization of Teams increasing steadily. And, we talked earlier about where Cireson has made some pillar type of product contributions over the last 2 years. So our MS Teams integration, our Cloud Connector. But we weren't just working on that. While we were working on researching our MS Teams integration, we uncovered a really significant opportunity that allowed us to kind of expand where we thought we could go with Teams. So to set the stage, let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Service Management as a journey. So today, the journey really begins and ends on-prem, a System Center Service Manager, and Cireson's Service Manager Portal product. So with these two products integrated, you have a legitimate enterprise IT service management solution, both on-premise and in the web. So you're able to access that via the web. And you also have a partner like Cireson working closely with Microsoft to expand the roadmap opportunity for Service Manager. But if you wanted to go to cloud, and you wanted to find a more cloud-oriented solution, there really isn't one out there that is Microsoft aligned today. So today at Innovate 2022, James and I are very proud to announce that Cireson is going cloud. We're announcing our first SaaS ticketing solution called Tikit by Cireson. So we're going to talk to you here in just over the next few minutes about what this means for our Cireson customer base. But right here on the surface, you can see that what it means at bare minimum is that Cireson customers now have options in the Microsoft Service Management ecosystem. From on-prem to cloud, whichever direction you choose, wherever your business needs you to go to better support your employees, you are now going to have an option within your Microsoft technology investments. And in addition to that, for those that really can't make the full move to cloud but want to take advantage of cloud and SaaS and AI-oriented features, they're going to be able to do that with both Service Manager and our SMP portal integrated into Tikit. So briefly, let's take a look at what Tikit really is on the surface, and then we're going to hand it over to James to actually see what the product looks like. But at the highest level, Tikit is a Microsoft 365 service desk that matures with your Microsoft 365 adoption. Tikit removes barriers between users and data, so you can remove friction between IT and your employees. So at the bare minimum feature set for Tikit, it is in the heart of Teams. That is really what started this journey looking at a SaaS ticketing solution. So opening a ticket from a Teams chat and even working tickets in Teams without having to leave that interface and making sure that all of the features of this Teams first ticketing solution are actually accessible in mobile in the Teams mobile app as well. But it's so much more than a Teams ticketing system. We call it a Microsoft 365 service desk for a reason. Tikit takes advantage of all of the seamless integration and security across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem to tap into these cloud apps across that ecosystem and unlock all of your data and access to users, access to features, centralizing it in one SaaS ticketing solution. So let's take a look at it. James, you're on. Actually, I got an IM from marketing, so I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Awesome, Justin, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here today and show you guys what we've been working on. So when you think about TIC and you think about kind of the Microsoft ecosystem and the service desk in general, I like to sometimes think about some of the challenges of a service desk and what would make a perfect service desk. And sometimes you talk about what if a service desk could automatically address all of your requests. And while we all know that's a great vision, it's not always 100% reality. And so as we went down that road, we thought, well, is there things we can do with modern technology like AI and ML, hyperautomation, that could be used to kind of close the gap between requests that we can automate now and maybe requests that we can automate in the future using new technology. And once we're able to kind of close that gap with some of the features we built in the Tikit, we started to think about what can we do to continue to close that gap and to be able to, complete requests even faster. What did we need to do to get those requests to the people who can ultimately solve them, which is where the most productivity happens and where requests get solved the quickest. Is there things we can do with, auto categorization, intelligent routing, things like that? Can things be done in this way, automation, but still have all the best practices fall in the background? Can we make ITIL invisible? And can all this be done in a way where we don't have to disrupt, the end user? Things like that. Sorry, just a second, guys. Wait, just a second, guys. Let me take care of this. Never a good time like a keynote to fix something real quick. So let me go ahead and Adam obviously needs access to the OneNote folder. So let me go ahead and capture this request real quick so we can get back to the keynote. Just like that, I'm going to go ahead and have a ticket created for that. Sorry about that, guys. Let's jump back in. So you know what? As we started building Tikit, I wanted to kind of set some new ground rules, a manifesto per se, right? We should learn from our past, but we should not let it dictate our future, right? We've been building tools in the Microsoft space for over a decade. We know what needs to be in our service desk, and we know the things that people want changed in our service desk. We also know that our roadmap must be driven by our customers, and we must have customer collaboration. At the end of the day, our customers need to accept that this tool solves their problem, and they're the ones who are going to give us the feedback that we're actually doing so. We feel like the end user experience needs to be more important than prescriptive processes. I mean, what good is a process anyways if no one's using it? In a hybrid world, it's the role of IT to empower the end users and allow the end users to focus on their goals and not at their tools. And lastly, we wanted to make sure we were able to respond to change over following a plan. We know now more than ever, the needs and goals of the IT department are changing, and Tikit should always be able to accommodate that change. Sorry, guys, I got another one here. You know what? There's always someone above the process. Let me go ahead and take care of this one too, guys. So I'm just going to jump over here to the Tikit virtual agent, and let me see if I can get this onboarding request taken care of. I'm just going to ask the bot to help me out. I think this time. Those spell check is if you can figure it out. Awesome. So even with those spelling errors, it was able to use AI and natural language processing to understand the intent of this request, and it needs me to go ahead and fill out this information to get this new onboarding request done. So Jim Klein is our new graphic designer. And just like that, I was able to send the request I needed. It was able to understand the intent of the request. It sent back for some additional information. Actually, let's just jump into this. Let's see what's going on here behind the scenes, right? So let's jump over to the actual Tikit product itself. Right, so in here you can see that I'm in Microsoft Teams and I'm in the Tikit product. And within the Tikit product, you have a set of UIs that you can use within Teams, or you can actually use the entire Tikit interface and UIs outside of Teams and its own web interface. So here's that Tikit we just saw come in. Let's go into kind of what happened behind the scenes there in that process, right? So we have this notion of what we call templates, right? So with a template, I can actually start to kind of build out some of that intelligent routing and start to preset fields and get that ticket to the person who we know that can solve it. So let's go ahead and start off with like a laptop request, right? I'm going to call this laptop request, and I can actually preset some of these values, right? So let's just skip it right to active. Let's go ahead and set the category to we'll do software since I don't have hardware today. And then any of these things I can preset. Going into the next step, I can actually choose. From here, I can actually choose to build out that custom form from scratch, or we provided some out-of-the-box forms for you to kind of start with. So it's going to start with one of those out-of-the-box forms, the new laptop. I'll create that new laptop. And right from within here, we're actually going to be taken into a template editor. And this is a similar template editor that Microsoft uses when you're building cards within Teams. So right within here, I now have a full drag and drop interface where I can actually create out that custom form, getting the information I need, whatever I need to do from here, direct a user somewhere, do whatever I need to get that information so I can get that request to where it's going to be solved the quickest. Let me go ahead and close this off. I'm going to save this off. So now this next step is I have this template now, right? I have this way of driving a request to the person who can solve it. But now what I need to do is I go back to my knowledge. And from knowledge, this is the knowledge that powers our virtual agent. I'm going to train that virtual agent now to be able to respond to requests, similar around hardware, things like that, that I can use then to drive the user right to get those questions get those question answers and drive back to the analyst. Let's go ahead and add a new knowledge. And we can just add a couple of different phrases here. And basically by adding 2 or 3 different phrases, we can use those 2 or 3 different phrases and we can use our natural language processing to train the bot to respond to a whole array of different requests. It's not just these exact phrases across the board. And then I can choose to either have that respond with just a text answer, using some rich text, or I can choose, like we saw, to have it respond with the template. And there's that laptop request template we just made. So that quickly now I can actually train the virtual agent to be able to respond with requests, take those requests, route them via pre-configured settings, and get additional information that I need to solve that request as quick as possible. Thanks. Back to you, Justin.
Yeah, hey, sorry about pinging you there mid keynote, but I completely forgot to onboard that employee. I guess that's just how work is these days, right?
That's the hybrid scenario.
All right, thanks, James. We really appreciate that. Let me take over here for a moment, and then we're just going to talk a little bit more with our customers about what this really means for them, right? So I got this pretty blank slide. Let's talk about the scenarios that come into play with Tikit and Service Manager and our Service Manager portal. So as you saw just now, Tikit is a standalone SaaS ticketing solution without the requirement of Service Manager as a back end, but gives the benefit of kind of a new, more modern approach of fully integrating with the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, from authentication to pulling in data from other systems and being able to use that within the ticketing system. So we're staying within our roots of Microsoft Service Management, but there is also an opportunity to not use it as a standalone only, right? To also integrate. So we're going to talk about both these scenarios in a moment, but just to round out the story, the migration path is likely for those unable to take full advantage of SCSM, for those that maybe need to move off on-prem and into the cloud, or for those that find that SCSM is maybe more powerful than they actually need anymore. Integration opportunity is for those that want to stay on-prem, that feel like the power of Service Manager is still exactly aligned with their needs, but they want to extend the functionality beyond on-prem and Service Manager into Teams, into AI, into ticket deflection. So we're going to talk about both of these scenarios here over the next few minutes. To start, let's focus on migrate first. So if we focus on a migration scenario, let's talk to an actual customer that's done it. So I mentioned earlier that Joel is going to be talking with Bill Devlin over at Luby's Restaurants about an interesting transition they've been going through over the last couple of years. Let's send it over to Joel to see what's going on with Bill and Luby's.
On the line with Bill Devlin, Executive Director of IT over at Luby's Restaurants. My name is Joel Doss. I head up global sales efforts and customer experience efforts here with Cireson. Been on board with the company for several years, so I think a lot of you have heard my voice before. But just wanted to get a few quick comments out of Bill. There's a session later on the calendar today, a case study session around Luby's and their recent move over to Cireson's new ticketing solution called Tikit, which is built natively into Teams and M365. And there'll be some great content around the logic and the capability that Luby's has gained from that move. But Bill, I just wanted to ask you, really just a couple of quick questions, right? Like, your journey has been sort of interesting with IT infrastructure and service delivery. If I'm not mistaken, before you really moved on to Service Manager, you guys were a ServiceNow customer for a couple of years. Moved on to Service Manager and right around 2015, 2016, I think it was, and then actually became a Cireson customer in 2018. Brought in the Cireson platform to address a lot of the gaps that most of our customers are familiar with in terms of out-of-box experience with Service Manager. But I was hoping you might just comment a little bit on that journey, those decisions to kind of move beyond System Center and move more into an Azure strategy. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Nice to meet with you. So look, to provide some context, I mean, pre-COVID, we were, over 200 restaurant locations. We had over 1,300 users. We had a very healthy data center, a staff of 21. and really, really heavy ITSM, strategies and how we operated the business. With COVID, in advance, two years later, the companies had to break up and sell off, and we're down to 46 locations and 300 users. The data center strategy just was not cost feasible anymore when you consider annualized licensing, equipment replacement as it's needed. We were already users of Azure, so we made a decision to just 100% transfer everything from a data center hybrid account with Azure to go 100% Azure. It was absolutely more cost effective for us to do that. In addition, we had a team of 21 people 2 years ago. We're down to 5. So we needed something smaller, and we continue to need things that are smaller, more nimble, easier to manage and support. We're all in with the Microsoft products now. We've eliminated things that were softwares and platforms that we're using for other functionality, and just really pulled everything into the Microsoft environment. We love System Center, we love Cireson, but again, it's very labor intensive to keep and maintain and manage those things. And so we were looking for a much easier solution for us to manage and support that would also give us end user adoption.
Yeah, and we've all talked about that a lot throughout the process of your decisions to move over to Tikit. And I think a lot of customers will empathize with the notion that best laid plans around self-service portals are just that, best laid plans. You can design, you can engineer an intuitive end user portal, you can steer your users there, but there's always been some friction, and quite frankly, mixed success. There's always those users who are just going to insist on picking up the phone. They're going to use email. They're going to use whatever channel is most comfortable to them. And I think that's why we're so interested in creating a role for teams, much more so than there existed in the past. Speaking as heavy Teams users ourselves, but so many customers have asked us, our customers are in team, or our end users are in Teams. What can we do to incorporate our request fulfillment process into that same channel? That was your thought process too, right?
Exactly. We had introduced Teams months before COVID. Once COVID hit and it turned into a work from home methodology for working, we became, over a 2-year period, a very, very heavy user of Teams, heavy adoption. All the end users have it on their phones, their mobile devices, which made Tikit a very natural thing for us to transition to, because we didn't have to do anything except tell people, open up your phone and create a ticket. So we've had really excellent end user adoption, with the platform. People are happy with it. We're getting better collaboration between the service desk team and the end user.
Perfect. Okay. Well, listen, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. But like I said, I just was looking for a little bit of commentary around the broader Microsoft strategy, the System Center strategy. Obviously that desire to to get a little bit leaner and take advantage of cloud-based solutions as much as possible. So really appreciate the input there.
You bet. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Joel and Bill. Really appreciate that added context as to what Lubies has been going through over the last couple of years to transition from on-prem to cloud. It was really interesting to hear more about the need to optimize cost and also the focus on employee experience as it relates to Teams and support. So for more details on what Bill and his team have been going through and kind of how they've made some of the decisions they've made, check out their case study. It's one of the last sessions for the day today at Innovate. So getting back to our slide where we talk a little bit more about migrate or integrate. So in Bill and his team's case over at Lubies, migration was the right path for them. On-prem didn't work anymore. It was hard for them to continue to maintain or take full advantage of SCSM. So Tikit was a great alternative, and we were happy to be there for them. But for some customers, for those that SCSM is still just as powerful and really well aligned, probably pretty customized to their particular environment, right? Integration is probably the best path forward for them. So what we're going to do now is, for those that would look to extend the power of SCSM through AI ticket deflection and more deeper Teams integration. We're going to move on over. I'm going to hand it to James again, and he's going to talk about our Power Automate connector and the strategy, which is where Tikit was really born from, of integrating AI-based ticket deflection into SCSM. So for those customers where migration doesn't fit, this is for you right here.
Earlier, we talked about how you could use Tikit to optimize your onboarding process. I wanted to take that example a little bit further here and show how we can take a ticket and move it over into Service Manager. So let's go ahead and jump right into Power Automate. As you can see here, I'm in Power Automate, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new automated cloud flow. I'm going to skip this first step just so we can come into a blank canvas. All right, in this environment, I have loaded 2 of our custom connectors, which we're working with Microsoft to become approved connectors. So let me go ahead and jump in. I'm going to grab the ticket connector, and you can see right away I have a couple of triggers that I can use to start this flow. I'm going to go ahead and start this flow when a ticket is being created. So what you can see here now is that when a ticket is created, I can actually choose to filter on that trigger before I go into the next step. So from our example earlier, we saw how we can use templates for onboarding. I can actually go in here and select that when a ticket is created and it's using the onboarding template. So with Flow, it's really cool that we were able to go in and pull data from your environment, your tenant, and have it populate inside of the Flow connector. So let's go ahead and create it when a new ticket is created and it's using the template onboarding. Let's have that create a new service request for us in the SMP portal. So I'm going to create a service request. And again, you'll see all these areas are pulling values from my Service Manager portal. I'm going to go ahead and do a directory of a new account. Let's just do some basic urgency. Let's do a source other. Obviously, I could put a source in here called ticket and route it to there as well. And here I'm actually going to set the title to, onboarding request from ticket, and then I actually want to inject the ticket ID from the previous step. So I can inject dynamic content into this value. For the description, I'm actually going to use the title from ticket, the ticket. And I could choose to even provide other information in here as well, anything that came from this previous step. The affected users, the assigned users in here, it'll actually load all the users in our system, which is fairly large, but I can also choose to use a custom value. That custom value, in this case, I want to use the email from the requester in ticket. So I'll set this to the requester email, and when this service request is created, it'll search for my users in SMP for a matching user with that email and set them as the affected user. Now to take this a step further, I can also choose to use data that I will get back once a new service request is created. So see here, I'm going to create a new step. I'm going to go ahead and go over to ticket. From ticket, I'm going to actually choose to add a comment. I'm going to add a comment to the ticket that was created. So this is the ticket ID from, this is the ticket ID from the first step. So when I create a ticket, I have an ID here, which I can use now in this step. So I'm going to create a ticket. I'm going to say new SR created, and I'm actually going to add the ID of that SR. I could also do something here like put in the full URL of my SMP portal or the URL of the service request UI in the portal and include the ID, so a link could be directed right back to the SMP portal. And that's it. So basically, once I save this request, save this flow, anytime a new ticket is created that has an onboarding template, I can create a service request in SMP, and then I can use that data from that new service request to put some information back onto the ticket as well.
All right, James, appreciate the overview of the Power Automate connector. I can't wait to see what Cireson customers do with this connector, all the opportunities that now open up by integrating with the Power Platform, specifically Power Automate. All right, so the scenario we talked about here was integrating with Tikit. Obviously, the Power Automate connector can do so much more than that, but we made a huge announcement today with our new SaaS ticketing solution in Teams called Tikit by Cireson, and I just want to recap the scenarios. So for existing Cireson customers, that maybe SCSM isn't what it used to be for you. Maybe it's almost too powerful, or in some cases we need to move off of on-prem. We've got you covered with this new SaaS solution. So migration could be an opportunity, but don't feel like that is the only option with Tikit. We have that integration scenario we just went over. So for those that want to extend the power of SCSM, once again, you can integrate with Tikit via our Power Automate connector and just extend the AI and Teams-based support functionality of Service Manager, really allowing you to take full advantage of the hybrid scenarios we talked about today. Okay, so if you are interested in getting more information on Tikit, really two ways to do this. The fastest way is to go to this URL, get.cireson.com/innovate2022-TIKIT. By filling out that form within the next few business days, we should be back in touch with you on maybe a time for us to connect, and we can start to help you prescribe as to what direction you may or may not want to go with Tikit, how it fits your business best, and what's best for your overall Microsoft Service Management strategy. If you happen to not be able to make it to that, you forget about it, in the next day or two, we've got, holiday weekend in the US, we will be sending out a post Innovate 2022 survey, and we'll also have the form there. But either way, you're going to get in touch with our team, and we'll be back in touch with you shortly afterward to set up a conversation to help you out. All right, so now the main stage, kind of main event here. I will be speaking with Shashank Bansal about all kinds of topics around System Center, Service Manager, 2022 hybrid scenarios as it relates to System Center, and very interesting Microsoft's Cloud ITSM strategy, a very interesting tie into our Tikit product for sure, as well as Cireson's roadmap overall. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's talk to Shashank. Well, thanks for joining us, Shashank. For those that don't know, you and your role as Principal Product Management Lead for the System Center team over at Microsoft. Could you maybe give a little more background on your role?
Yeah, sure. First of all, very, very glad to meet everyone in this community. System Center is a workhorse for data centers for years. And a part of my role is to make sure we keep meeting your expectations, giving you the best possible support, as well as updates that stay in sync with your data center needs. So I call System Center as 3 pillars. I want to give you best-in-class data center support, evolve as your heterogeneous environments evolve, and then work on an open partnership to see the product evolve by itself as well. So those are 3 pillars I focus on as a company strategy, as a product strategy, and I work with a team of product owners who make it happen.
That's perfect. Thank you, Shashank. Appreciate that context. And can you tell us a little bit more about, what your team is focused on as it relates to Service Manager specifically?
So I would say Service Manager, first of all, I would definitely say Service Manager is a very critical part of the overall System Center family. There is absolutely no data center management without a service management or a ticketing solution, as we call it. So we're completely involved with Service Manager. Our focus on Service Manager has been addressing bugs and issues that you report, that your customers report. It's been a very stable, a very flexible platform. So touch wood, not a problem child for me personally. And I lean a lot on partners like Cireson to help us develop integrations, to help us see how newer technology out there can work with the platform that we have. Things that I'm super excited about, of course, we are upping the lever on the to what extent can we support data centers. We have Windows Server. We now also have Azure Stack HCI support and VMware 7 support where we can have. So basically, we are saying, irrespective of how your data centers are structured, what you have running out there, you can manage it from that one workhorse solution that you have. That to me is a statement of extent, a statement of truth on saying I can work with anybody and everybody.
Talk maybe a little bit more about hybrid, because you mentioned that your blog that you were working on, right, for the release of 22, the announcement, And I noticed at the end of that blog, you kind of called out hybrid scenarios, right? Or that those scenarios were called out in that blog. And you just talked about the blurring boundaries, right? I mean, there's the back end side of it, administrator versus user. There's the workforce hybrid work scenario that now needs to be supported by IT, right? What kind of hybrid scenarios are you and your team kind of envisioning or maybe seeing in the field right now as it relates to System Center?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And in general, the evolution of hybrid environments is just amazing. I like the rate at which it grew. I can attribute that to the pandemic, but that's just stellar. Like I love the pace of it, and it keeps me on my toes as far as the management business is concerned.
Sure.
So the way I look at it, right, when I talked with a large set of customers of ours, all of them did say that, yeah, with pandemic, we are embracing the cloud, but I have a lot of legacy applications, a lot of processes, customizations that I have invested in. And a lot of them are just not compatible with cloud as of now. I will have to throw them away, redo them, or invest in a migration tooling, right, which is not ideal for me right now. I need to get this going today. Cloud is great for scale. Cloud is great for a reach, performance, but then here's the problem. And a huge part of that customization is attributed to System Center.
Right.
Right. Administrators like you, like me, have historically built scripts, written scripts, put them on orchestrator, management packs on SCOM, tuned them to suit our needs. And a big challenge is now, okay, hybrid is you have two environments, partly on cloud, partly on-prem. I can't throw away what I have on-prem, but I still don't want to have duplication of effort on maintenance. I want a single view for all my alerts, for all my runbooks, for status on my automation jobs. How do I make that possible? So a very common theme and a problem that came to me and my team to say, hey, this is what the hybrid problem is. Let's go solve it. And the approach we took is twofold. One of them, you see it in action already. And the second is what we are building. The first is we said, OK, great. You have these System Center products on-prem. Admins don't have a problem of reaching to them. They don't have a problem of saying, hey, I'm not able to log into my tools, or I need an evolution there.
Right.
How about we give capability to monitor cloud assets using the same tools? So we released the Azure management pack. We released the M365 management packs for SCOM.
Right.
We have integrations in ITSM for the Azure. We have integrations that have happened in Orchestrator for Azure runbooks, so that you can target Azure environments right from your automation jobs, or monitor them, or manage the runs that happen there, the services that run there. So that's one. Great, embrace the cloud, but all those resources can live off the processes and customizations that were on-prem. That's already out there. All of the work that I said is out there, released through integration and extensibility and available.
Sure.
The second pivot, which is a slightly more interesting pivot, is this, that, okay, a lot of these customers also told saying cloud means lift and shift for us. We will just take our environment and host it on the cloud and we're done. But a lot of them came back and said, yeah, that's easier said than done. I can lift and shift, but I still need to manage.
Exactly right.
And it is a wee bit harder to manage it on the cloud than it was on-prem. When I can touch it, feel it, it was next to me. So an interesting problem. That's what we are trying to work through. So we, as Microsoft, we have investments and technology in Azure Arc. We are trying to embrace Azure Arc, take a product to product, scenario to scenario approach to say, great, we can enable you to host software, your System Center software on the cloud as a managed instance, as a SaaS offering or otherwise. such that your existing integrations work as is, so you don't have to throw them away.
Right.
But we will give you a capability of a lean and mean environment, of a low management environment.
So we talked a lot about hybrid today. Maybe we could talk a little bit now about, for those organizations that either find themselves compelled or, motivated more to get fully into the cloud, or maybe even organizations that aspire to that, but are still kind of, working past this hybrid component of technology. Maybe we could speak to the people who are moving fully cloud at this point. And specifically, again, ITSM would be a really great understanding of what Microsoft's strategy and their thoughts are on cloud ITSM at this point.
Great question. So I would basically start by saying there are enough customers who are trying to do what you just explained. Just move completely to the cloud. It's a journey. It ends up being a multi-year journey. So they'll be hybrid in between, but eventually they want to be on the cloud. Okay. Now, service management wise, if you see a very deep space in itself, right? We have our offerings in terms of service SCSM, System Center Service Manager, and there are enough on the cloud that are coming. So what our current focus is, we want to embrace the partnership. We are, like I said, we are open to working with everybody, and Cireson has been a very good partner with working together with us. The good part about you and your organization is you're not looking at us as just one cog in that wheel.
Right.
You are embracing Microsoft as a whole. You are looking at different parts of our solution set, which is broad by nature, like I talked earlier about, and saying, how can I leverage all of them to offer the value on the cloud, to offer the value? So thank you for doing that. And I love the partnership that we have come together with. But from a service management point of view, that's how I am looking at it right now.
There's always this question of like, when am I making that move? Or when, to what extent does hybrid get it done for me versus, making a move to a fully cloud solution? And so it's great to get from you and Microsoft, the stance on cloud ITSM as it relates to Microsoft technology, right?
Yeah, and I'll just add a couple of lines there, right? Like,
oh, sure.
Something to realize and accept is that there are three environments as they prevail. There are organizations who need, or due to compliance reasons, industry reasons, like that's just a need of the hour for them. And that's been, we are not saying that's not a scenario anymore. System Center is there to help you support those. Service Manager stays a part of a pillar to address that segment. Then there is 100% on the cloud, which is very relevant for the new workloads that come in, but has issues and it needs effort as far as modernizing the old workloads are. And a lot of companies are on that journey to do it, and very successfully indeed, right? So, and the third is hybrid, which is I have a part of both, right? And we as Microsoft are committed for all three environments, be it for service management or other technologies, and are working with partners in some cases, working on first-party solutions in some cases to make sure that you get one management plane, one control plane across all three. Right. And that it's your choice where you want to keep that management plane. It could be on-prem, it could be the service manager driving it, it could be on the cloud through a third-party solution, or it could be on the cloud through an Azure solution.
Yeah, no, I mean, it totally makes sense. And just to, I guess, put one more thought out there around something you said earlier is that, what Cireson's focus on is definitely on this end-to-end, Microsoft technology-driven service management strategy for our customers, right? So whether they are on-prem, whether they're moving fully to the cloud, we're trying to develop solutions, obviously with our new Tikit Cloud, ITSM product that we announced today. These are solutions that we're trying to bring to the market, but they are not developed to, to suggest one or the other is better than the other. Just like Microsoft, we're committed to on-prem customers that have that need, cloud customers that have that need, or the hybrid as well. Just making that transition that much easier and supporting their journey, as you called it, right? So
absolutely. Right. So we are completely aligned, and I'm so glad to have a partner like you for that.
You work with us on our roadmap from time to time. You're closely aligned with product management here at Cireson. Are there things that you have been seeing that we've been working on? Obviously, we've made some announcements today. What kind of stands out to you as the most exciting stuff that feels most aligned?
A couple of things come to my mind, and I'll just sprinkle a few things here,
Sure.
and pardon me if I miss a few. Right, you are involved in quite a few things, and sometimes I lose track. But
Yeah, sure.
But I think the most exciting thing I felt is like I think I mentioned that earlier, right? Microsoft gives tool sets which are tailored for specific needs. And you have a nag assistant to say, okay, I'll use the best of it to give an end-to-end solution out there.
Right.
So you play a solutioning hat, come a partner hat or integrator hat for us. Like I think for a low code, no code kind of a solution, we do have a Power App suite of products, but you picked up Power Automate and merged it with Service Manager, which are kind of two different realms in general to give an overall, to solve an overall problem for hybrid management.
Right.
And I like that on your roadmap. And so I feel excited when I talk about it.
Well, look, I mean, like I said, we're wrapping up on time. I really want to thank you for the time and speaking with me today. It's always great the relationship we have with Microsoft, and we're always trying to lead that Microsoft service management strategy for our customers. And so just thanks for reinforcing some of these key alignments, right? Kind of the direction of cloud ticketing and ITSM, the direction of integrations for hybrid scenarios, and that kind of end-to-end on-prem to cloud. Supporting the journey. We're really looking forward to another great year working closely with you and your team.
Likewise, absolutely.
Thanks, Shashank. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and once again, thank you to Shashank Bansal for the conversation. It was what was an extended conversation about System Center 22, the future of System Center, some hybrid scenarios. But really, I think the biggest thing for me that came out of that conversation that I love is the alignment between Microsoft and Cireson as it relates to Microsoft's ITSM strategy, right? Leaning on partners like us to help them to deliver the right feature set for their customers, to help them to improve Service Manager, and now with our new Tikit product to offer up Microsoft-centric cloud ITSM solutions. Very excited about what this means for the future of Microsoft Service Management. All right, so we are going to wrap up now just to kind of cover off on a couple of big topics. We announced a new product today. The Tikit by Cireson is Cireson's going cloud moment, right? So for Cireson customers, what does this mean in your Microsoft Service Management journey? It means that you have options. Service Manager and our Service Manager portal on-prem still our stalwart solution, right? It's around for every single one of our customers, and we're super excited to continue to build out the roadmap and support this product long term. But for those that find a need to move to the cloud or integrate with more modern cloud and SaaS features, Tikit now exists, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. It is one of these three scenarios. If you find yourself cloud, you find yourself on-prem, or you find yourself wanting to be somewhere in the middle to get the best of both worlds, Cireson has the solutions for you as it relates to Microsoft Service Management. We could not be more excited to work with you. And finally, on that note, if you have any questions about our new Tikit product, please go to get.cireson.com/innovate2022-TIKIT, or also check out our post-Innovate survey to let us know you're interested. Raise your hand. We're really excited to talk to you about kind of what this means for the future of Cireson products for all of our Cireson customers. All right, well, that sums up everything for our keynote today. We have a ton of additional content for the rest of the day. Make sure you check in all the sessions. Say hi when you get an opportunity in the open floor. We're very grateful for you being here today. Thanks. Have a great day.